Welcome back to another one. I've got the splash up again. Just reminding you to go check out the music we've been making lately. Right, let's get into this. Where do we start? First of all, I'd prefer if it were not night time. Creepers be creeping, right? Also, apologies for the morning voice. It's been a tough one to shake today for some reason. Digital Chaos, Deccan of Heaven in the chat. Welcome, welcome. I got a hot cup of coffee here. I haven't had any coffee yet. Maybe that'll help me shake the morning voice. Right, I've realised that now would be a good time to remove the splash. Not that we're doing anything terribly interesting just yet. Is it the cinnamon flavoured coffee? Nah, that stuff was really disappointing. That and the chocolate one that I got. Not going to buy that stuff again. Really should have done a try before you buy kind of thing, but I hadn't seen something like that before. I mean, I've seen flavoured coffee, just not the way they were doing it. They had all the coffee beans out, big bags of it. They grind it in front of you. It was very, oh, this looks legit, you know. And then it turns out, it's a bit not quite as. Harrington says, "Do you see me?" I do. I see you in chat. I'm gonna turn up the music a little bit today. Have it a little louder than usual. Can't quite get exactly 25%. Not that we'll go with 27 today. We'll go with 27 today. Right, I'm also going to need a bunch of this stuff. Is it still super cheap? It is. Thank you very much for the cheap diamonds. Yeah, that's what they are, cheap diamonds. Can't seem to get any of my words the right way around these days, can I? Oh, kitty cat. Meow. Where's the kitty cat? It's sus you seeing Mumbo's art. It's sus me seeing... Did I see Mumbo's painting of my base? I did. It was amazing. Super cheap diamonds, yeah. Super cheap diamonds, right. Snow settles in this area. Good to know. I don't think it's going to be a problem for the build we're going to do. Just so you know, big spoiler alert. You know, gonna spoil the next episode or whatever. Big time. B-Dub's shop, new shop looks so nice. Would that happen to be that one down there? No, that one over there. Is that B-Dubs' new shop? Because I was over there a minute ago and I was like, this shop is gorgeous. I didn't think it was B-Dubs though. It was definitely a B-Dubs level build. I felt, I don't know, I got this feeling like it was someone else who was aspiring to be like B-Dubs. That was my reaction when I saw it. I was like, this is a beautiful build, but it's very B-Dubsy, but I don't think it was actually B-Dubs. Actually, when I went inside, I saw it was selling moss and pale moss, and that made me think maybe it was, because those are very B-Dubsy materials. Right, we have to do something that I don't like doing. And that is making concrete. Let's go ahead and throw these boxes down. And get prepped to dye and to craft. I'm not sure I actually brought a lot of black dye with me. I kind of forgot that bit. Maybe I should just go get a bit more dye together before we commit here. I think that would be smart. It would be both smart and sensible. Yeah, let's take a little trip. Let's take a little trip. And let's say hello to Bill2121 for 29 months. Appreciate you, my dude. Thank you for coming in and subscribing again. The texture pack for dark mode is vanilla tweaks. To answer your question. Alright, different sources of black are required. I think Wither Rose is probably the one I got the most of. I don't know if I'll need ink sacks or something else. I got a few of those as well. Right, we definitely ain't going to need that much, so that'll do. He did call the Cinnabar difficult to build with and oversaturated. Maybe that was it, says Niam. Maybe. It's always interesting trying to guess who built what, you know, without knowing. Like, which hermit was it? Because everything about its positioning, the way you approach it, to me, it was B-dubsy, but I had this feeling it was someone else who might have put it together. Maybe that's something to do with the Cinnabar being a little too bold. It is quite two-tone. There are some bricks thrown in as well. There needs to be maybe like 1 or 2 other materials you would throw in. I think with B-dubs you would see more textures in the texturing, right? But either way, it's just a gorgeous build. It was just a fun game of trying to guess who built it. Maybe the trees would have been a giveaway as well. I'm not sure if they were actually there before. But it's a really nice build. Have I seen Mumbo's picture of my base? I got asked that a minute ago and the answer was yes. But now the answer's changed. Because I lied. Yeah, no, I've seen it. I'm joking. Oh, granite in between. That would have been a nice fit. That would have been a nice fit. Vanilla Tweaks is so great, it now feels off to play without it. I feel the same way. I feel the same way. Okay, so we got the stuff for the dyes. That's good. Now what we're going to do is just make up a bunch of black concrete and black concrete powder. Actually, I probably just want a whole stack of that now that I think about it. Yes, and then all those materials get converted. So we're going to go like half and half here. In fact, I'm pretty sure in the long run I'm going to need more on this. So let's go do that again. Yeah, let's do that again. And then I'm going to want more wool. I kind of want to keep a balance in my inventory for the building. Did I put it? I put it there. Alright, let's go separate this and put it up here. Nice. Also going to put that up there as well. Keep those ones together. Keep them separate. Alright. Need that. Going to need a bucket of water. I did build a thing for this all the way back at my base now I think about it. We should go use it. I mean, I put the time and effort into building a concrete maker. And there is Complex. 112 months. Hello, what's the build today? A giant jukebox for playing records. My records, the other hermits. Makes so much sense, right? It makes so much sense. You've been a bit busy this week. You haven't been on track as to what we're doing today. So what are we doing today? We're building a giant jukebox. I say that. I'm not actually going to start by building the jukebox. I actually kind of want to start by building terrain to the edges of the jukebox so I can save myself building stuff that I'm not going to see from the outside. So I've started with this, which is technically not the first thing we're going to use when we build. That's wool. That doesn't go in there. Okay. Powder. 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 The rest of this goes in my hand. And I think now would be a very appropriate time for me to have some coffee. So, right click, left click, and read chat. Hello X, says Arctic Ellie. Hello Arctic Ellie. Welcome to the chat. Let's have a sip. Let's have a slurp. Good stuff. Oh! Oh. Oh, that's nice. You need a distraction from your Latin work. Fair enough. Well, welcome. I realise why people are asking, like, what's the project today is because it's the title, right? The title of the stream. I was thinking this is a bit of a throwback. It's instant coffee, not ground coffee. I didn't really have the time to use the cafe press and stuff. I just wanted to get going because I've got quite a bit of stuff to do today. I defrosted my freezer yesterday and I want to make lots of ice cream. I actually used up all of the ice cream that I've made. It's just like a reset. Like, that stuff will last a long time. You can probably leave it in there for years, but every now and then I like to defrost the freezer. And I took it as an opportunity to finish up the ice cream that was in there and start a bunch of new batches. Going to experiment with some air quotes healthier recipes. Ones that use a little less flavoring, and some of those superfoods get mixed in there, you know? If you could move anywhere in the UK, where would you go? What will give you the most inspiration? See, the thing is, I could have moved, you know, I can move, could have. I decided to stay here recently. I've been umming and ahhing about the idea of moving for a long time. You know, I go on trips, I go on holidays, you get all idyllic about some beautiful little cottage or whatever that you go past. Wouldn't it be lovely to live there? But actually, I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. Where did those extra bits of concrete disappear to? Aha, I think I just found them. Got them. It's really nice to be idyllic about stuff, but then you tend to spend a lot of your life indoors, in your house, and a lot of the houses that you go look at, like, you see them from the outside. I don't actually spend a lot of time outside looking at the house, if that makes sense. And then you got, you know, your network of people nearby, your routines, the things that work. And you'd have to uproot all of that to go to this supposedly idyllic location. And it just makes me think, like, what is actually more important here? Ah, some good coffee. Is it the idyllic postcard-looking cottage out in the countryside? Or is it, you know, being close to the people in your life and having a situation that works for you? I'm out here drawing up floor plans for houses you're never going to live in, says Enderzella. Maybe, you know, like, this is how it works for me. For other people, your passion might really be in that dream home. That might be where the value is. It's very easy, I think, in life to kind of idealize something or make more of it than it actually is. Right? And I think that's what I do when I look at other homes and dream about living somewhere else. If I actually imagine going through with it and doing it, and then I realize all the things that I'm giving up to go live there, it's kind of like, actually, I don't think this makes sense for me, because a lot of the things that I do or value don't actually come from, look at this pretty home in the countryside, right? Like, I don't walk out of my house every day and get some immense satisfaction out of it. But at the same time, if that was happening out in some countryside place, it would only, you know, you get used to it after a while, and it would only be a few times a day that you go for a walk outside your house, and then the rest of, like, your life is spent indoors doing this thing, doing that thing. And so I kind of realized it's not what I think it is, and I decided to stay put here. That being said, if life's circumstances change, and for whatever reason it would maybe make sense at a time in my life in the future to go live somewhere more remote, North Wales, I think, would be an amazing place to go live. Amazing. But it would have to mean that's what your life is going to constitute, you know? Madarusa says, I get to move my meaningful places with my doggo. As long as there's good interwebs and nice long walks, I think I'll be happy. Yeah, you see, it sounds like you've pinpointed the things that you value, and maybe you'll realize you can get that from a fair amount of places, and it doesn't have to be this idyllic sort of spot. I don't know, man. I live 5 kilometers from the nearest neighbor, 20 kilometers from the nearest store, and in the woods for a year. I want to go back. Studio apartments suck. This is Bandiluan. Well, you've done it, and now that's part of your equation, right? Like, if I go do the thing you did, I might learn that actually that works for me. But my hunch is that it maybe won't. You see what I mean? Like, I'm not saying this is the answer for everyone. I'm saying I've just done the calculations. I think we all idolize living in a little cottage in the countryside, but then maybe don't think about the other things that come with that, like being distant from family, seeing people less, or certain conveniences. Maybe you don't have a good internet connection. What I will say is I haven't done that to know if it's for me or not. Like, I might do that and absolutely love it and go, oh my god, I'm living wrong. But, like, it's such a dice roll, right? It's a real dice roll. And unless you got, like, a real strong hunch that it works for you, I wouldn't roll that dice. I have a feeling that I would like it for a while, but I could see myself... I've noticed that you get used to places, right? Like, it all seems exciting and fresh in the beginning, and then you get used to something, and somehow that magic that it has fades away a little bit. It's like that for me with places and nature. As much as I love getting out into nature, I have access to quite a few beautiful spots near where I live. And I've been going there for so many years that that sort of initial charm of, oh, wow, isn't it so beautiful? It kind of wears off. And I suspect that'll happen wherever you go. It'll become your normal local area. It's hard to imagine it being so impactful as when you first visit there. So because of that, I kind of try and measure the things that give me more meaning and value in life. And turns out it's stuff like making music or playing guitar, right? And it's like, well, I don't need to go out into the countryside to do that. Caro says, also, why change what works if you are happy in the current situation? I guess you could say because there might be more happiness out there for you, but if the situation is you're happy, you can imagine, like, rolling the dice, you might end up somewhere less happy. So, you know, if you're unhappy with where you are, most other places are going to do better, right? Reefer Jesus says, dude, I love living in the country. 25 minutes from the nearest town. I have fiber, though, so internet is great. I'd probably love that too, but then I'd be far away from family and stuff, so I don't think that would work for me. I am the Doctor. Thank you ever so much for your Prime subscription. 46 months. Appreciate you, my dude. Thank you for coming back again. You regret moving to the city again daily. Yeah, I think the city is a great example. So that's the flip of what I dream about. I went to New York. It was amazing. Oh my god, so like there's just a vibe there. It's incredible. But I kind of knew this would wear me out quick. Right? Like, it's nice on a holiday, it's novel, it's fast-paced. It'll wear me out quick. I'm a quiet person. The city is for, like, big energy and lots of socializing and stuff, and that's not quite me. So it'll wear me out. Right, so we don't want to... you can actually kind of see where we're going to clip away this space here, right? Initially, I was going to show a bit more of it on that side, but I think that works. I've got to watch out for this powder snow as well. That's going to be super annoying today. We're going to fall into that plenty of times, I'm sure. So over here, we'll just start to, like, layer up a little bit more. I did bring the stone so that I could be, like, put this underneath. And then that way, you sort of don't use or waste as much snow, right? Kind of the idea. So maybe we can bring a little bit of that into our build here. We put the stone down first. Gives us a bit of guidance on where to go. If we go around the back here, I really want this to come up like a fair bit higher. So maybe we do that. And then if we put the snow in here, it might help us figure out what the guidelines are to where we're going to start building. Well, I've done my first colossal derp of the day somehow. Do you remember all that? Oh, and now I've done my second. You can't write this stuff, people. You can't write this stuff. You can't write this stuff, I swear. You know all that black that I made? I thought it was black here and grey there, and I've misremembered. Well done, me. Well done. Oh, I did it again. Well done, me. So I may have just made an extraordinary amount of the wrong resources. Typical. Off to a great start. At least we haven't built loads of it first. Right, like I said, I think I want this to come up a bit steeper when we get to around here. And that's what we're going to start doing. Although, oh, maybe I've been a bit aggressive there. I am a chronic overthinker. I think we're just going to rock and roll with what we got. It's kind of done now. See, now we're going to be cutting away all of that bottom area. Which I think will work out pretty well. Save some resources that way. There's no music info on, thanks for letting me know. Just forgot to click VLC playing. When I first added that, I remembered it every time. I was like, oh yeah, I'm never going to forget this. And then, what would you know? After a while. There we go. Those blocks aren't actually there is the thing you got to remember, right? On this side, I don't think I actually want to modify it too much. I think we're going to leave quite a lot on display there. And fortunately, our job at the back here is kind of easy. Maybe a little too much there? Can I make some snow layers? Is that not how you make them? Is this Hermitcraft? It is! At least I hope it is. Otherwise I'm in big trouble. On the wrong server and stuff, you know. I think you can already see, based on the shape below us, that this should be lower right here. I'm going to remove... some of this stuff, replace it with snow. That's what we'll do. Let's whiz round and go to bed. Ow. Ow again. Am I going slightly mad here? No, I just went past the bit where it was. Great. There we go, that's what I want. You don't drive, so you're trying to get over your fear of driving so you can drive out to see the stars again. That or ask some of my beloved ones to take me because it's bumming me out so bad being in a city. I say do it yourself. I say build up your confidence. Just start doing little drives and get comfortable with it. I am now quite a comfortable driver. When I got my second car recently, something about going through that process, getting rid of my old one, like I just sort of became a more comfortable driver. And this is after having been able to drive for like 10 years. Always being a very sort of cautious, steady, kind of like risk-averse driver. That made me feel not too confident about my driving. So I'd always be super cautious. I still am a very cautious, but like the anxiety that comes with it had kind of just disappeared recently. And it's really nice, actually. I now feel pretty chill every time I get in the car. And it was just because I think I had a build-up of like stuff happening that got me out in the car more over the last year. And having been driven so long, it kind of really settled in that, yeah, I know how to drive a car. Like, You're not a learner anymore. Just chill and having a good time with it. But, you know, how do you get there? You really do just have to do the driving, right? I'm kind of noticing that, like, the way the stone is here in the natural generation feels quite right. And we're not going to have too much of that now. But that's okay. I think if I keep this, like, slope that I'm building gentle-ish, it will probably feel okay when you look at it. You won't be like, oh, someone created that. You've become a less anxious, more comfortable driver by getting a more modern, safe, very easy to handle car versus the old one that was manual, no power steering, AC, etc. Yeah, that might be another reason why I felt it recently, is because my new car just drives so much better than my old one. I say so much better. It's not like day and night. It's not massive, but it was very noticeable. I felt like I was in a much better vehicle now. So that might have something to do with it as well. I think I'm going to try and leave those blocks in. Actually, maybe not those ones. Yeah. Just about able to jump and place it. Yeah, leave a few stone blocks here and there as we build out the snow. A Tesla? No, I'm not driving a Tesla. It doesn't make sense for me to go to electric. I don't drive my car enough to justify it, right? Doing small trips and building up the confidence again, because I remember loving driving. It's nice, actually. I was very anti-driving for a long time. And still was once I got my driver's license and began to drive on the regular. But it has its moments, especially driving through North Wales. I really enjoyed that. Like, I couldn't exactly constantly look where we were going at all the beautiful scenery, but you could feel it when you were driving through. And it felt really nice. And I enjoyed the drive in there a lot. Xisuma drives a Ferrari. No, I would never get a Ferrari. This is how much I don't really like cars and stuff. I would never buy a luxury sports vehicle. It's always economical. The vehicle I brought was like all done through like calculating cost and budget and all that kind of stuff, right? I made sure I got what I thought was a really good deal for my car. And I actually think I did very, very well with the car that I picked. I think I got a really good deal for the amount that I paid. So how are you moving around when needed? X, Uber, or what? I don't know how talking about having a driver's license and how comfortable I am with driving leads to the question of, am I using Uber to get around? I will not answer your question, because then you can turn the cogs in your own brain a little bit and figure it out. I mean, yeah, man, just got a new car. Let me call Uber. I need a lift. Isn't that the name of one of those other ones? They called it Lyft, which is pretty smart, pretty clever. Powerboss says, I love driving too. The drive of the Toronto has always been your favorite drives. I've only ever driven, you know, the one type of car, really. So I have no reference point. Like, I'm just not big on cars in that way. So I don't know what other types of car drive in what particular way. I definitely now have the impression of like, oh yeah, cars can be a lot stronger because my new one is stronger than my older one, right? And I feel that. Brooksy, 96 here for 100 months. Brooksy, I have no idea if you're in the animation. Absolutely no idea, but people love the animation. I have this horrible feeling that may have not got you in there. I don't know. Feels like it's been a minute since I've sorted that out with the puka. Let's see what happens though. Fingers crossed. You know, I always do my due diligence if I catch that 99, so if I caught your 99, it should be in here. Oh, we're pretty swiftly catching up with the area before. I think I might have originally wanted to have hid more of this, but we can always come back to that later and hide it away. Yeah, I love the bed. Being propped up there. I'm not seeing ya. Not yet, anyway. There's Cuplex trying to escape, like always. Another JT is in there twice? How did that happen? And you're not in there. Let me make a note then. I'm sorry, Brooksy. Don't know what happened there. But thank you for 100 months. Incredible numbers. Right, I've got it all down, and I'll pass it on to Tapuka later. And you got it next time you're here, you gotta tell me, oi! Void! You're supposed to play my animation again. And then I'll play it. I'll be like, what a rude message! I'm not doing what they say. That's probably what will happen. One, two, three. Bam. You're going to learn to drive soon. You're somewhat nervous. That's totally normal. Right, I'm going to go refund myself some of that black wool and then get some grey wool. And then we have to go to the concrete maker again. Let me save this. Terrain. Because we did some terrain landscaping stuff. And then I guess I probably want another 5 stacks of that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll take that and that. Actually, I'm gonna take the ink sacks. There we go. Oh wait, doesn't that do all of it? No, don't do that. Oh my god, I almost dum-dummed. Big time. Big time dum-dum. Almost, very nearly. Right. Oh gosh, the inventory management. Right, take those things away. That's what I want. That's what I want right there. Bam. Alright, we'll put some snow blocks back and then we'll head out and do some more resource stuff. You passed the other month and it's the best having the freedom. Yeah, it's pretty cool passing your tests. Right, I need to drink some more coffee. Give me a coffee! Get out of the way! Ah, good stuff. Oh, we got a conversation in chat I'm looking at here about lane assist. My parents, my dad's car has stuff like lane assist and speed adjust. And I think he likes some of the features like that, but they're not always reliable. My car has a speed limiting mode and a cruise control. And I learnt to use them on the drive up to Wales. No, was it Wales or was it some music festival? I think it was when I was alone in the car, so it wasn't Wales. Maybe it was on the way to Download Festival. I just started, like, pressing the buttons. Because initially I read the manual and tried to use it and didn't understand, like, this isn't doing what I expected. And then I, yeah, on the drive to download, just decided to, like, try and figure it out, and I figured it out. And I like using them, but you can get some that are now automated, so it reads with a camera, it reads a sign on the road telling you the speed limit, and adjusts it for you, but when it's unreliable, it can be really annoying. If it worked, it would probably be really good. May says I use cruise control all the time. Yeah, I've been using the speed limit more, but on a long journey, I need to rest my foot because my leg starts to get a bit achy and stuff. Like, the cruise control is great. Plus, I can shift the speed up and down without putting my foot on the pedal. So, like, I've driven on the motorway, and as, like, cars in front of you slowing down a bit, you slow down your cruise control. And then, like, you speed up again, you just speed it up. And it's like, you're just not even using your foot. You're just pressing buttons and going up, like, faster and slower. I can't help but feel like the buttons on your wheel, it's a bit clunky and a bit slow to react. I can't help but feel that there could be like better designs for interacting with those systems. Like if you imagine driving with a controller, like an Xbox or a PlayStation controller, the controls kind of give you like pretty quick interaction with the game or the vehicle. I can imagine something like that for cruise control. Could be quite handy, but maybe not. Oh, who knows? It's just with mine, you gotta, like, let's say you want to... You're going into a new speed limit zone, and you need to shift down, like, by 10. You gotta press the thing 10. Or if you gotta... You know, sometimes you come off a motorway, so you were going 70, and now you're on a road that's 40. You gotta press those buttons a lot, and it can be a little bit, like, dual brain. You gotta focus on the road whilst pressing the buttons. So you sort of, all of a sudden now you're counting in your head, like, counting down the amount of times you gotta press it. Your dad's car has cruise control and a speed limiter. He suggests that I don't use them while I'm learning, mainly so I know to drive the car without them. Sound advice. Don't learn without. You know how like old people will probably tell you, oh, you got to learn how to send a postcard or whatever, or stamp a package and send it in the mail. And then you learn how to do it, and then you never do it your whole life. Like, I got given a bunch of... When I moved into this house, I got given a bunch of, like, stamps and envelopes and all this kind of stuff. And I've used it, like, once in the 10 years that I've been living here. There's a few other things like that. Like, some old school stuff is just antiquated, no longer being used. Like, learning to cash a check, right? I got taught this. The only time I've ever had to cash a check was recently for £13, and I went down, stood in a queue for a while, went to the counter to find out that they didn't have the stuff to cash the check and that they're trying to fade it out and you got to use an app. And I was just like, all right, where can I go? And they're like, you could try the other one, the other side of town. And I'm like, at this point, it's a waste of time. And I never cashed the check, right? Like, I just kind of realized it was that worthless to do. Sometimes that is the value of your time. Do you want to spend hours and hours faffing around, driving about just to get 13 quid? I probably would have spent more money on petrol. So, anyway, when it comes to learning things that are like old and antiquated, I think learning to drive a car in manual and not use all the fancy extra bits, probably a really good idea. Because, yes, that technology will probably get better and become more reliable, but you're still in a vehicle, and the fundamentals are still there that you can have full control over it, right? And I think knowing how to have full control over your car will teach you a lot of stuff that will become useful in those sort of edge cases. Like, every now and then you're going to be in a bit of a weird situation in your car. You know, someone pulls out when you didn't expect them, and now this other car coming from the side, and all of a sudden you got to think fast, and it's like, that's when you want to know how to control your car well. Use your banking app because it's phased out mostly here too. Well, here in the UK, they're phasing them out. I don't know what country you're from, but yeah, they want you to scan your checks on the banking app, and I'm like, I don't like using banking apps, so I haven't done that. Enderdan says, want a safe car? Get a Volvo. You know, short sentences are never great for such bold statements, right? Like, there might be a completely banged up, failed its MOT Volvo down the road. Oh look, it's only 100 quid, I'll buy that car. I think you got to do a lot more research when it comes to figuring out what car you want to buy. All right, we're gonna do like a fade thing here with the builds. We're gonna go concrete up to grey. Although I think the way I want to do it is not based on the edge. I want to do it based on like distance from the bottom. So we're gonna end up with so many leftover materials. I just know it. It's unavoidable at this point. But what's not unavoidable? Wait, it's over here? I left one over here? How could I? We'll get a little bit of stone to start our building. I'm also going to switch to standing. I feel quite knackered at the moment. I went for a countryside cycle this morning. This summer, I thought I was going to do a lot of that, and somehow it's taken me till August. I think I might have had one earlier in the year, but somehow my Sundays have just had other things going on. Probably running earlier on as well was a part of it. Because when the summer rolls around, I always tell myself I want to get out there in the countryside on the bike and enjoy it. And since I hurt my heel, I've had to slowly build up my strength on the cycle again. And today I had enough to like really go for a long ride around the countryside, right? And it's August. It's going to be September soon. Why does this always happen? I swear, it was the same thing last year. It was like, it seems to be the end of summer. I always tell myself I'm going to go cycling throughout the summer. And then it's just like, oh, look, it's the end. Here I am cycling again. And then it'll get rainy and I won't do it anymore. You've been meaning to do nothing but a bunch of hikes too, but the brutal summer with the heat waves made you cancel most of them. I don't know what is with me, but as I get older, I like the heat more and more. And I loved trekking in the heat. I did a lot of walking this summer, which I'm happy with. A lot of treks. Walked up and down some beaches. Went swimming in the ocean the other day. Oh my god, loved it. But yeah, no, I love the heat. I seem to get on quite well with the hot days. It's weird. If you want a safe car, get a tank. Yeah, very safe for you. Maybe not for other people. Maybe not for other people. Right. Have I turned my time lapse thing back on? I'm just wondering. I wanna finish this coffee as well. Also, is a tank actually safe? Like, there's a matter of perception with these things, right? It's a matter of perception with this stuff. It's like nuclear power and fossil fuels. It's like we tolerate a ton of bad outcomes of using petrol and stuff like that, which nuclear energy would not create. Yet nuclear energy has this like environmental thing attached to it, right? It's kind of like that with some sort of like different vehicles and stuff. People like assume stuff. Cars are like constantly polluting around us and a big source of like death and danger in our lives, but they're normalized, so we tolerate it being like that. And you know, compared to flying on a plane, most people are more scared of flying on a plane than getting in their car. But you're probably more likely to end up in a crash if you get in your car than if you get in a plane. Like, it's just, that's just, you know, how it is. It's all that perception and stuff, right? You never learned to ride a bike, rode a moped to work for years as a teen, though. Hey, you should learn, man. That'd be a fantastic thing to learn. That'd be such a great thing to learn if you've not done that before. You'd be chuffed with yourself after you've done that. Right, I'm gonna, yeah, tweak the visuals here a little bit. You see, that's completely off. That's why. That's what we want. We want this, I think. So that's where the grey wall starts. Did I enable? Yeah, we've got to do that. So grey. No. I got rid of the. I'll tell you what. We'll just start placing it. So we're gonna do. The idea was there was going to be more grey concrete at the bottom, but I do want to texture it a bit, you know. But that's the area where we don't really see a lot of it. Kind of my concern there. Flying is super fun. You think it'd be really cool to be a pilot? Yeah, being a pilot, what an awesome job. What an awesome job. Man, I bet every pilot has got like a bit. Well, there's a saying for this, like a bit of something in your step, you know, a bit of swagger in the way you walk. Like going up there and flying and seeing that stuff every day would be amazing. A pep in your step. That's kind of like the saying. It's kind of like the saying. I'm not sure it's the one I was thinking of, but that's very similar. You started cycling to school again. I did cycle previously, and the main thing that stopped you was the road before the motorway bridge on the path to school. Yeah, I know what it's like. Some roads are just dodge, right? You're like, I don't like this route. Last month you got back from a two-week vacation to Spain. Best experience of your life. Awesome, man. Spain's a lovely country. I bet you enjoyed the hot weather. I'm hoping to get back out somewhere soon that's hot. Like when it starts to cool down here, which is already done, but it's like very nice at the moment, the weather. Even though I tend to like it a bit hotter. I have this weird feeling like I might step back from these blocks and then just be like, oh no. Oh no, it doesn't look right. Because I'm just winging it. Just winging it. Okay, can we get some more of that? Yes, please. Thank you very much. Oh, I've been missing something here, or is that Blackstone? That is Blackstone at the end. Your dad's a pilot. You think it makes him very punctual, because missing your flight as a pilot is devastating. Yeah, imagine that, you know. You can't miss too many flights, right, if you're a pilot. Like, I don't think there's a lot of spare pilots hanging around. You're in demand. People need all of that to run on time. How many more blocks are we going up here by? I've switched back to using my sideways ergonomic mouse. It makes it so much easier to knock it when you like move your hand around. So we've got another one? No, that's it. So that's the roof of that side there. And then as you'll see, when we come to the back here, we ain't gonna have too much building to do on the back. This part of the build's actually going to be relatively quick and easy, getting the back side of it put together. Alright, that's polished blackstone there, so I'll get rid of that one. I think I over-prepared some of these materials. You went on a trip to Paris, but the temperatures outside reached 40. Yikes. Yeah, 40's getting a bit rough, isn't it? Well, hopefully you got to enjoy whatever was inside. I love going to, like, museums and art galleries and stuff, and usually those places are, like, air-conditioned. Oh, whoops. Should really get that off of my hotbar. That's not helpful right now. The road is mostly thin, and I would use the path there, but there's people there. Thankfully, I get to the motorway bridge, it goes into a foot cycle path, and I'm able to relax a bit more. The only other issue is the students on the way to and from school. Do they just, like, walk all over the place? Is that the problem? Because I've learned that if you ring your bell at people, it's usually worse than just cycling around them. Especially in groups, like people just immediately go in different directions and don't know what they're doing. There's a really simple thing that you should do as a pedestrian or a cyclist, which is like hang left when you're on a road. But people don't do it. They just go all over the place. if you just hang left, you know, like sometimes I'm cycling and someone is walking on the right side from their perspective coming towards me, and I just go all the way over to the left, and like some people get it and it's like move over to the other side. Some people don't. They don't know what you're doing, and it's like it's the same rules as being on the road. You go to the left side, because if we all stick to that, it makes it very easy just to move into the correct position, right? Or hang right if you're not in the UK. Yeah, if you're from one of those backwards countries that doesn't know the correct side of the road to drive on, which is obviously the left, then yeah, you would have to go to the wrong side of the road. But you know, I can't really help all y'all, because we still haven't figured out why some people aren't driving on the superior side of the road. It's been a mystery for a long time. It's been studied, you know. Right, let's put, oh gosh, I thought I was gonna sink. Thought I was gonna sink down then. Oh, what's going on here? Gotta actually look at the block in front. Right, we'll put down some solid foundations. So that there is, yep, that's the wall. Right, down at this level, I feel like we can put in some concrete again. Maybe just a few pieces. That'll work. And I have no idea. Well, if I look over there, you can see we'd started to put in some of the powder already. I think we might run out of powder over here. Oh no, we've got another stack. We're going to be okay. Nabel says, yo, we invented the car, so I think driving on the right is correct. Did ya? Did ya? Well, we invented society over here. Actually, we didn't invent society. What did we invent? I don't know. The Industrial Revolution happened here. Jeez, I didn't have a good comeback. You know, where would you be without that Industrial Revolution, huh? How'd you make cars without that? Prime! Amazon Prime! I don't know why I decided to say that first. 3 piglets in a coat. Thank you for 38 months. Appreciate you. Appreciate it. The locomotive! We invented the locomotive. Totally didn't need someone in chat to remind me of that. That's what we invented. Oh, want to go forward, do ya? Couldn't do that without the old locomotive, no. Germans invented the car, and when they did, most of them were driving on the left. Oh, knowledge! I'm not going to verify that statement because it agrees with my pre-existing opinion. And that is the way we should conduct ourselves at all times. We're still at like the phase where we're using a mix of both, I think. So I'm going to continue with that. Wait a minute, that's not supposed to have anything there. I'll have to remove that later, I think. Oh, that doesn't belong here, does it? What are we building today? We're building like a big square of concrete powder and grey wool. I really wanted to build one of those for the longest time. And I decided today is the day. I'm going to build one. I know it's not very original, but every now and then you get the itch to build that classic thing that every Minecrafter does. You googled bizarre British inventions, and apparently someone invented the automated hat tipper, so gentlemen didn't need to manually tip their hats. Oh my god, that's so weird. That's so weird. Do you know, isn't the butt scratcher a real thing? Butt scratcher? Isn't that like actually a thing you could have bought? Maybe not anymore. Oh my god, honestly, that is a really weird idea. It's the sort of idea that, you know, someone pitched their mate and you're like, or you could just tip your hat. Or you could just, like, not bother. Alright, which bit of the building goes next? Because we got some of the walls up, which is nice. Oh, then we... Oh, oh. Oh, no wonder I wanted to make this go so much higher. I kind of forgot how big it got. How did I... do I want this thing to come up and cover more of it? That was the original plan. I think I might not. I don't know. Now I know why it felt like, oh, this wasn't as big a job as I remember. It's because I haven't picked out the right job. So if on this bit here, I think at least we could sort of extend the snow. Let's do this and cover up some of that there, and then you don't have the big obnoxious black bit. So I did need loads of black. Okay, I've gone a little harsh on myself today. I did need that. I think what we'll do is we'll beef up this little bit here so you don't see that all the way across. And then it isn't a crazy amount that we've done. Yeah, that works. Okay, so let's finish our recording. So that was us building the grey walls. Now we're going to do more landscaping because I got my landscaping job wrong. Ugh. Oh, I don't have time for it. It's curious. In this game, in Minecraft, in creating stuff, I don't recall the process of, like, making mistakes like this and redoing stuff ever being, like, that gratifying. Yet, if I compare this as a creative outlet compared to something like music, I'd never have that experience of music. Like, I just love trying all these different things until I figure out what piece fits in the song. I don't get this kind of like, oh, kind of feeling from it. It's weird because music is my, like, natural thing that I gravitate towards. And Minecraft and its level of creativity with the building and stuff, mainly with building, not so much with contraptioning and building farms and stuff, more like aesthetic building. That's been something that I've been pulled into by seeing others here on Hermitcraft, you know, do amazing things with it and wanting to give it a go myself. But it's like, it's always less natural, and it never gets to feel like when doing music. Putting together a build, even when you get to the end and you're like, oh man, this jukebox is awesome, like, never quite has that same journey as doing music does. Mumbo is planning on a high build for the museum exterior too, if you remember correctly. Well, it would be very typical for... Oh my god, please don't tell me so. I spent a long time looking in this area, and this felt like the one spot where it would make sense to put my build. And I went and watched a bit of his episode just to try and see if he had sketched out any ideas, and I didn't see anything. So I guess I didn't get to watch the bit where he mentioned anything about that. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Like, he hasn't sketched his out yet, so maybe there's room to change or something. The other thing is, like, because this is like the interior, it could be that the exterior... Oh, I don't know what to do, but you can always, like, landscape and move things around a bit. You say it's on Mumbo for not completing its exterior. It's not on anyone, really. You know, like, I did my best, and this to me looked like, you know, you build some sort of exterior around it and it would be down here, right? It didn't cross my mind that he might want to go big and vertical. So we'll figure something out. We'll figure something out. Unfortunately, I feel like I've just invested so much to get to this spot right here. And, like, Mumbo can be a bit tricky to get hold of as well. So I don't know, like, where we're at with all of that. Alright, I guess we're doing more of this. Right, something like that. That looks a little... Wait, that looks really odd, actually. Yeah, actually, so where it comes up here, this is probably where I want to pull this shape out a bit more. Mumbo's last video shows a huge tail building at the end for the gallery. You know, I missed that. I went and watched parts of his episode as well, trying to figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll find a way to make it work. Things can be done. You can get creative, you know, like problems can be solutions too. I feel like I need a bit more of that stone poking through. Probably lacking that a little here. Especially as we get higher up and get more pointy and stuff. Right, so here, I think it might be worth keeping that bit. It's just where I am here. I think this is where you need to start coming up. So we'll fill in a few blocks there and then go up here. That looks to me like the right call. And then you start to pull across from this side. Okay, let's go sleep in the bed and then come back and finish that. Yeah, like let's move on from this because I'll have to meet up with Mumbo and ask him what his plans were. But like, let's say, I mean, this entrance doesn't look like it could be moved, but let's say there's some sort of way to terraform this area, and then you put your big skyscraper stuff sort of over to the left or something, right? Like, there are ways in which we can work together and make them complement. I'm a bit bummed out by that, though, because, like, I took the time to go... Like, I watched through the last couple of his episodes, trying to find a bit where he, like, what, you know... Here's the gallery, what's after it? And I couldn't find anything. So I missed that. But yeah, let's just move on from it. Because I don't know what the right or wrong way to do this stuff is in, but I'm pretty knee deep. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty invested in what I'm doing at this point. Like, I've put a ton of time into this. And I'm sure we'll be able to figure out a way to make it all work. It's what we do on Hermitcraft, right? Come together, figure out solutions. Right, so around this bit, it might be a nice idea to start doing this and getting bits of stone showing again. Because we're going to get a little bit higher here. To pivot to a new conversation, did you know that Michael Jackson has 2 autobiographies? Now, when you go out there and look for stuff to read, autobiographies I think are awesome. I've enjoyed so many autobiographies in recent years. And then I've struggled to find one that I really wanted to get into recently. And I learned that Michael Jackson had one, so I've been listening to one where it's in his voice but through AI, and it's so obvious. Like, the cadence is really poor and stuff, but it's the only audiobook of it I could find with this AI voice thing, and it makes it feel a little bit more like you're running through a series of facts than someone's telling you a story, which is kind of sad, but like it's kind of like the best you can get. like the best of very little options. So, so yeah, I've been listening to that, and I'm early on in the book at the moment, and it's talking about his childhood and how he grew up like on the stage, and it feels like, you know, we all know this. We all know that he was a child star and stuff. That to me looks a little too much like I've tried to hide the exterior. I'm going to just change that because it just looks like I'm trying too much at this point. Or maybe maybe what I should actually do is add more blocks rather than take them away. I was thinking take some of these away, but maybe we can get away with doing this. Everyone knows the Jackson 5, right? But sometimes you forget just how massive they were already, because those swarming mobs of fans that he had around him in his life, they were there since he was very young, like 7 or 8 or 9 or something. And it just, yeah, everyone kind of knows he's got this thing with like not having a childhood and wanting to be a kid. And but when I was listening to this book, I realized that started so much earlier than I realized. This kid like really never was a kid. Like he was always practicing and, you know, learning his craft and never out playing with other kids and stuff. And it's like, oh, no wonder. Grief for Jesus says the Jackson 5 was way before my time, but I've heard the stories. Yeah, I mean, when I was growing up and learning about Michael Jackson, it was like, I loved those songs. I heard them when I was a kid, and I still treasure them. They're amazing, but it never really, I don't think it really sunk in. And when you saw that movie recently that they did on him, that was what sparked me actually to try and find some more material about his life. And then I found the autobiographies. But that movie tries to portray that early part of his life where all they did was come together and practice music for family. That was it. That was just what they did all the time. And it's really becoming obvious how it's not like you hear someone say, I didn't have a childhood. Okay. But like when you understand what that is more, when you see the picture of it, like the gravitas of that really adds up. And that's kind of what I'm just getting from this book at the moment. Oh, I never recorded that. Great. I like to do my time lapses perfectly, but you know what? I've done so many, it doesn't matter. I'm not sure I really like that too much, but we'll go with it. I think we'll make it work somehow. All right, so maybe next we do Blackstone. Do the Blackstone bits and then put in some of the black materials as well. Yeah, let's do that. We'll do this all in stages. Who is my favorite poet? You know, poetry was something I could have gotten into, but I never really went down that route, so I don't really have a favorite poet or poems. But poetry's awesome. I really like it. I used to write my own when I was a teenager, and yes, it is awfully embarrassing. I'm not embarrassed though by it. It's just, it is what it is. You were young, you know, you can look back and laugh at it, but at the same time I was doing something. I was being creative, and I think that's important. Important to express those things, you know. I just realized this is another aspect of the build where I didn't do much in the way of texturing. I'm not sure if I want to though. I don't think you want to texture absolutely everything. Are we recording? We're recording. Right, I think it might help for me to get my bearings. Oops, if I do this. You think it would be awesome for me to read some poetry? Not my own poetry, no. But maybe someone else's I could read. The poetry that I wrote was very personal as well. Like, if I go back and look at some of it, it's like a reminder of how that like my mental state at those times, right? Can be a little bit too vivid. Not sure I exactly want to go sharing all that stuff. You don't have to share everything, you know. We kind of live in the age of just sharing. Sharing. It's like my streams are me coming here and just talking about whatever's on my head. And I don't mind it. It can seem a little self-indulged at times, but in the past, it's very unusual for people to talk about themselves so much. It's just one of those things that shifted and changed in society. And now that a lot of content that people enjoy is created by, you know, people talking about their lives and what they're doing all the time, I think it makes us as people very self-oriented a lot of the time as well. And the thing I was trying to say is you don't have to share everything in life. It's good to have things that are you and yours and just for your own. Not everything has to be a tweet or a podcast. Right, let's build this bit up. That must be very cool to have for yourself to look back on, says Customy. It is, yeah. Whenever people talk about, like, they do journaling, or something else I have to look back on is that I take pictures when I travel, and, you know, I can look back on those, and it helps me remember them. Anything you create, I think you'll always appreciate being able to look back on it, even if some of it's painful or tied up in something uncomfortable. It's a record of you, like, existing and expressing yourself. And it's nice to have that stuff. Something I did recently preparing for our next FOMO stream was just go through some old musical data I have on my listening habits and whatnot. And like pick out songs and stuff from the years, because I have this habit now of just listening to like new releases all the time. And I don't spend so much time listening to the air quotes, the greats, the albums that you've loved over and over again. And listening to some tracks and being reminded of stuff, like when you're young, you really create some strong connections with the things that you're into. And it's, again, nice to have a record of it, right? Like when that nostalgia hits you and you want to go back and check some of it out, you got a record of it. Do I do anything now like scrapbooking or journaling? I don't, and I don't want to either. I feel like what I do already fills up enough of my time. I feel like I would rather have more time to focus on doing music than all this other stuff as well. So it's all like in the balance. I'm struggling to find the time to make another Xisuma Says video, and I'm kind of wondering if it might have been a bit of a misfire to try and bring that back, because I have more time to do stuff right now. I am injured and can't work out and exercise as much, so I get like an extra couple of hours every day, and I am just still like it all goes somewhere, and I feel like I might have put something extra on my plate that I probably shouldn't have. As much as I want to make those videos, they like take time and stuff, and I've kind of been wondering, maybe it was a bad idea, because it's a YouTube channel. You get that pressure. You feel like, oh, haven't put out a video in a while. Got to put one out. But got to let go of those thoughts maybe as well. You're currently in a phase of listening to German indie music that you listened to a lot 20 years ago. Awesome, yeah. Yeah, it's nice to do that. I'm going to do a little bit of that myself, I think. I've already been doing it. I rediscovered that band Samael from a recent music FOMO live stream, which, by the way, Tuesday's the next one, right? Tuesday evenings, 8 p.m, that's when we do them. It's on the schedule. Check out the schedule. That'll be what I do on a Tuesday, all right? Something will come along at some point and get in the way of one or two, but... Oh, this is all... Is this all... No, that's some of that is. There we go, I can jump over here. Right. For the near future, anyway, we're going to be committing to this. And what I got planned for this Tuesday, but I'm not sure if I want to stick with this just yet. I might leave it a little while and see if this whole thing builds up a little bit more steam, because I'm kind of thinking if we pull in some more people or more people enjoying it, maybe this one would be better saved for like later on. But what I went through and did is I found all of the like absolute special songs that I found over the years. The ones that like really like knocked the wind out of you when you heard them. For whatever reason. And I noticed the common theme, there were two common themes. In more recent years, it's like Sybient tracks, ambient, like stuff that's more atmosphere driven and more about mood. And in the past, it would be bands that would just drop songs that like go a bit beyond the scope of what you might expect them to do. That's what I was noticing. But yeah, maybe we just do something casual and off the cuff. I went through so much music stuff. I got some other ideas. Like we could do a stream on like metal's best riffs, like all the banging riffs. Another one I want to do is like deathcore scene days, back from when the deathcore scene was popping off, and me and all my mates were going and watching all these smelly bands with their breakdowns. I thought it would be fun to revisit some of that stuff. But didn't I say there was some... Hang on, if I do it like this, there you go. I think I'm going to build that strip next. So we'll put these... Yeah, we'll put these black stone pillars up to that height and then do the wall. So yeah, I got lots of ideas. Lyrics is another one. I started putting some of my favorite lyrics into a playlist. So maybe next one we'll just do something casual. I want to see if we can build up a little bit of steam, because if we start getting more people coming in, then I'll save those really special ones for later. So more people can enjoy them. Hey X, I know you make music on your own, but I was wondering if you're in a band or you wanted to do a bassist or guitarist. Yeah, no, I always make music on my own. It's much more of a solitary activity for me. And never really played in a band or whatever. My mates were in bands, and like they'd do their thing and I'd do my thing. I don't know, I just always did it solitary. Okay, so we want to have a pillar there and a pillar here. That's the idea. Does Black Sabbath count as metal? One of my favorite bands. Not only do they count as metal, they created metal pretty much. There are other things before it that may have a bit of an aggressive metallic heaviness or whatever, but it's pretty universally understood that Black Sabbath gave us metal. And you can hear it. If you know your Black Sabbath discography, like the first 6 records or so, and then you just listen to other bands in the 80s and the 90s, and sometimes even in the noughties, you just hear Black Sabbath riffs. It's just like that. Becca says, just wanted to say hi to everyone. I'm out. Have a great stream. You'll catch up later. Thanks for tuning in. 85 streams in a row, Becca. Hopefully see you on Tuesday. Joe Hills convinced you to watch Twitch to see the other Hermits live. Oh, cool. Well, I hope you've been enjoying our live streams. Xisuma, do you want to listen to a medieval heavy metal band that did a rap track 2 years ago? Yeah, I could give it a go. Sure. That's another thing we could do. We could just have people like send in random tracks and discuss them. Although I feel like, you know, first impressions are first impressions. Tracks are best enjoyed once you've heard them a bunch of times and you get to know them properly. Hey, I got my block back. Hi, question regarding Litematica. I've never used it, but I saw it in a short. Can you auto pick block and air place with Litematica as well? You can. I don't like using those features. We don't use those features here on Hermitcraft. I remember watching one of these super fast-paced Minecraft videos about, you know, making all these farms in a short amount of time, and I was just like, man, these kids today, like, they're putting a crazy amount of effort into this hustle. Then I went and tuned in and watched one of their live streams, right? And they were just running around with a schematic, not even looking. And it was like the mod was placing the blocks for them and stuff. And I was just like, oh, well, that explains a lot. Like, you've taken something that's quite high effort and time consuming and just used a mod to, like, overcome that hurdle. So it's like all this mega farm stuff that they're doing in their videos, it's actually just schematics, and like they're not even doing the actual building. Now, I'm not against this. Like, it's your world, play it how you want, but it just feels like that isn't you're not told that when you watch the video with the super fast lightning edit and like, oh, and then we built this farm, and then we went to there and built a gold farm, and then and they're talking too fast, you forget what the last thing they did was. Where's my black blocks? Aha, black wall. I feel like I've opened all of these and not seen them. Aha! Clearly, I didn't open this one. Right, so black wall, black concrete, and black powder. Let's get them in the right order. And then we start building that up in this gap over here. I guess having some stone around. Build a little ledge underneath here. Need that. You know what? I'm probably just going to transition this and do it irregardless of what's on that side. Right, let's get all three of them together now. Yo, it's Armored Monkey, my dude. 92 months. Evalex is in his house. Thank you for tuning in, resubscribing. Appreciate you, my dude. I've been playing survival. I decided to create a world where I keep on moving around once I feel like I need to do something else. That could be a good approach. I mean, like I've said it before, but I feel like these days you play Minecraft with a bit of a strategy or a vision, because I feel like everyone has been affected by that. But, well, basically by people like us hermits, right? Like this whole like leveling up of playing the game over the time. And now I think people go into their worlds and it's harder just to faff about and build silly stuff like we once did. You go back and look at, you know, 2011 Minecraft, and everyone can build the kind of things people are building. But nowadays we're all surrounded by like this way more progressed, matured approach to the game. People have figured out how to make stuff look really good. And I think that puts a bit of pressure on the average player to think they have to do that too. And so I noticed the way people talk about their own worlds and losing interest in it. I think a part of that problem might just be this sort of like higher level of playing that's been created. If that makes sense. Or I could be talking nonsense, who knows? Like that big Shrek prank back in the day. That's a great example. Yeah, you used to just build stuff like that. Oh, I'll build a picture of Shrek. And it would sit somewhere obnoxious in your world, not fitting into the environment. And now we know how to do all the different things to make it all fit together. All right. So the next bit, I could place... no, actually, placing the frog lights wouldn't make sense right now. I've got to do a little bit more work there. I think maybe starting to put together some of the middle bit, maybe, but let's go save that. And also, there's technically some materials back here I can reclaim. I usually do stuff like that, but I think I might just leave it. Right, Don't want to do the terracotta bit yet. I kinda want to do this next wall here. Maybe if we go up there and just build some... A lot of this stuff is going to be powder, isn't it? And I'm going to need to prepare more materials for that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to do next. I do need to farm some shroom lights. This bit here will actually stay mostly the same. Yeah, let's build this section. Okay, so polished, lots of polished deep slate, light grey stained glass, and frog lamps. And we'll start with that, and then we'll see where we're at. Yeah, I think I'll build that section next. That'll work. You started playing Minecraft after like a decade of watching Hermitcraft, and it's so much harder than it looks. Oh, there you go. That's kind of what I'm getting at, right? Like, we have raised the stakes on this game. Not Hermitcraft individually, but I think Hermitcraft has been a bit of a focal point because you've got many different content creators here that not only do some of that themselves, we often learn from the community and showcase how this stuff is done. Oh, I actually want light grey, don't I? Well, I got a little bit of that. So we'll make it a light stained grey, and that should definitely be enough for that. Those things can go back in there. Somewhere in here I should have lots of deep slate, really. And I do. And most of it is going to go into that area up there, I think. You don't like playing Minecraft where I'm single player and I'm around people. Mainly I'm streaming on a Discord. It feels too weird. What do you mean? Like, in the world? Hermitcraft is actually the reason I try more fancy builds in Redstone. It's quite fascinating how inspiring and motivating you all can be. Got to remember to start that again. Yeah, I mean, I love that. I see that. I'm aware of that because, you know, we read comments and got an ear on what the community is up to and stuff, and you can definitely feel that sense of people, like, pushing their game too. It's awesome. It's a really cool interactive thing. Like seeing the game evolve and being a part of that evolution. Right, so I think we need that. And then a lot of these. There it is. In my Minecraft world, it's personal. I don't mind sharing screenshots, but I don't like actively playing in it around people. Alright. I mean, I haven't had my own world for a very long time. Basically, since Hermitcraft took it over. It's always been... I mean, I've done the occasional, like, modded thing, I guess, on the side. I've had a hankering to do that again recently. Play some modded. Right, let's get this thing going. But yeah, I'm always playing on a world that other people are a part of, and I've liked that because there's just life in the world. Like, you can log on and something new is there, and it's not always you. I think I'd get a bit bored of everything in the world being done just by me. Like, you wouldn't have that sense of, oh, what's this? Because something new has popped up, you know? Right, so I think we do that. And we go around the outside here. I mean, I want to do a bit of that as well. Just check. Isn't different on the outside? No, it's not. I am just gonna... actually, no, I'm not gonna fill it in. I was gonna... So like, I'm gonna fill it in anyway, and then I'm like, nope, 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 nope. Now I realise what I'm saying. I am such a stickler for, like, wanting to have maximum resource efficiency. Like, no blocks can be placed that are out of sight and not visible. Those areas must be filled with stone or left empty. Because I see all these resources as something you had to work for, you know? So, like, why waste it? But it's a little silly in some ways, isn't it? Up here, we get to place a light source next. And it's the surface in which you place it in that's important. I want all of them to face that way. Right, so here, like, I don't really need to place anything there just yet, so we'll go back over this way. I think something has happened here when I've copy pasted this build and mirrored it, and I've not picked up on it because there was some copy and pasting involved in designing this thing and rotating the elements and making tweaks and designs, changes and all of that, and it looks like something went wrong around here. I kind of remember maybe intentionally pushing that back a block so it looked a little bit darker. But I'm just going to go with this now. That's how we're going to do that. That means then at this level we should just be covering all of this up. And then go out by one and across. You think Season 5 had super iconic bases. It had lovely themes for everyone. Season 5 was where we isolated ourselves from one another to have lots of space to create our own big mega bases. So, like, I think what you're saying is, like, totally on the point. There was a downside to that, though, is that it made the season kind of, like, quite lonely and isolated as well. Everstaru, my dude, 61 months. Appreciate you coming in again. Thanks for continuing to support. I hope you continue to be entertained. Are you not worried about the front of Mumbo's art gallery blocking your build when he finishes the front? I'll have a chat with Mumbo about it. I did my due diligence and, like, skipped through his, like, recent episodes trying to find any signs of him talking about the exterior, and I didn't. Obviously, I've missed it. I'm pretty deep into this project now, so I think if I chat with Mumbo, we'll probably figure out how to make it work. I think he can keep what he wants to do. The big thing is just, like, the path to the entrance might need to become a little different or something, you know? But yeah, I spent a long time trying to pick this location. It's very hard to put in such a big build and not have it stick out like a sore thumb. So I needed to use this mountain here to help me, like, hide it a little bit and nestle it in. And if Mumbo comes along and puts something, like, to the side of it, they could complement each other more. So I think it's important here to just look at it as an opportunity to be creative and solve a problem, you know? All right, this is looking great. And then we hop over here. How do y'all feel this season's going anyway? Are you enjoying it? How does it compare to other seasons? I'm not talking about me personally. I just mean in general, because I'm very aware that this is a very different season from me, and it will remain that way, I believe. Favorite so far? Favorite since season 7? That's nice to hear. Ah, yes. Oh, well, that could still be one, couldn't it? You're looking forward to how this prank story evolves. What's the prank story? I know False was pranked by Joel, and then she kept the rainbow in her base because it looks awesome. Right, that is that, basically. That's that bit done. I'm not sure if I should just jump straight into building the next layers or not. Oh, wait, is there slightly more? There is slightly more. Let's get the stone in place, because that's going to be needed for the foundations of the next bit, I guess. And then what's that there? That's polished deep slate again. Okay, I've missed some here, haven't I? Actually, I'm not sure if they are supposed to be polished deep slate. Oh, I'm pressing all the wrong buttons now. Right. Oh, it says it is. Okay. I don't think I did that on the other side. We'll have to check that. You love so much that all of you live closer together since season 10. We're actually spread out more. This is this weird thing. I did this analysis of the map density at the beginning of the season, and we are more spread out by like a factor of 2. Like, we're twice as spread out, but people comment as if we're not. I just think sometimes it's like perspective and vibe. Just, it feels closer, but we're technically not. Season 8 and 10 are your favourites. Cool. Season 10 was very squishy. Yeah, everyone was really close in Season 10, and we've moved further out this season. But there can be other factors as well, like the terrain maybe just gives you the impression that everything's close. Plus, we've started to embrace using the Bobby mod a lot more. So, like, if you were watching someone last season who wasn't using Bobby, it might have seemed we were further away. Because I was definitely using Bobby last season. I'm not sure if that was the beginning. I think we started to experiment with that stuff at the end of season 9. The extended render distance and stuff. Alright, so now we build that big black box up the top here. So that is definitely the end of that. Let's drop down and assess materials and stuff again. The interaction makes it seem closer. Yep, that's always a factor. Where do I get the inspiration from my builds each year? Well, this year it should be very obvious where. But, like, you have to seek out your inspirations sometimes. For me in building, it's always a case of, like, going out and looking at stuff and exploring ideas and trying to find the one that appeals to me and I think I can execute. Because when it comes to building, I am not the sort of person that has, like, a passion or a vision of what they want to do. When it is with music, I have no shortage of things I want to do with music, right? No shortages whatsoever. It's kind of what made this build come together so easy, is its musical theme. Right, so it's black up the top, isn't it? And we're gonna. Am I gonna do black concrete again? Like, does it make sense to use black concrete? Do you think? Or should we stick to powder and wool? Because the idea is that it lightens up as you come further up. I think I might just stick to powder and wool for this next bit, rather than have it reset. I also wanted to build the stone across here. I think we're going to do that all in one go. Okay. Actually, I want to keep that up for now. What I want to do is press this button. Is it possible to make a harp in Minecraft? I think one of the note blocks does that for you. Okay, so we're gonna ditch the concrete, but now we need lots of black wool and powder. So if I grab another diamond, we'll get another 5 stacks. And then if I grab this and this, and that makes that much, doesn't it? Yeah. Might not be enough powder, actually. We'll do a bit more. Alright, and now off to the district we go. Did I see the picture Mumbo made of my base? Yes, I did. How does one reasonably eat a meatball sub? I have wondered that. There are certain... Oh, I've gone to the wrong shop. There are certain things... There are certain foods that you can buy where I'm like, how do you actually eat that without making a mess? Meatball sub is one. Some of those beard meets food challenges are a bit like, okay, well you can even see that yeah, you can't pick up and eat that burger. You got to pick it apart to eat it. You know what I mean? What is that? Might be related to this thing. If I'd have known Mumbo was putting a big build here, though, I could have just built this thing down there, like right next door to it. You know what I mean? Right, I think that's that, and stone is the other thing that we need. Probably quite a bit of it, so we'll fill up the inventory. We'll drop off these lamps somewhere, and then I'll probably spend ages fishing them out again. You feel like you need a third hand to eat this thing, yeah, to like prod the meatballs back in. Right, I've been stood this entire stream. I'm going to sit down for a bit. Where I haven't been able to like stretch out and exercise as much, I've felt my hips get cranky again. And like, I've sat when I cycled for over an hour, and sitting down has just become like annoying again. But I'm gonna sit down for a little bit. Right, let's get up there. Let's get up there. Right, so we're going to build this thing with wool and powder, which we got on the hotbar. We'll try and, I think we'll just try and space them out somewhat evenly. I mean, maybe a bit more wool at the bottom. And here we go. I don't know why it does that. Is that on a chunk border? It is. Some sort of rendering issue. And that is actually polished blackstone on the corner, so we'll skip around that bit. And then we'll get some stone over here. You still can't see the music info. Oh, that's because it didn't actually activate when I clicked on it. This time it did. Huh. Well, it's there now. You want to add me to your fantasy world as some sort of music person? I don't know what kind of aware, but I do know that I have some ideas. Hey, put me in there as a musician. Give me a little instrument that I'm playing or something. I'd like that. That would be cool. Alright. That shouldn't be one of those, though. That's what I've realised. Musical Mage. Oh, I like that very much. Like that one very much. And we need some more of that. All right. You forgot about my fan art, X. That was cool. What do you mean? About my fan art? Do you mean the amazing fan art people have created for me? Because you can go to my website, xisumavoid.com, and there is a fan art gallery on there, which I updated a little while ago, so it should be with all the latest and greatest. Always love seeing some fan art. This season's fan art, what do you mean? Again, like, I don't make fan art, so we're talking about other people making it, right? Or am I missing something? Do you mean the paintings? The parody paintings? Album covers? Yes, the parody paintings. That's not fan art. That is not fan art. That is something different. That is me having fun with some parody paintings. Very different. Very, very different things. No wonder it was so confusing. More of that powder. What's my favorite current modern album? Hard to say, because I'm always cycling through like one album to the next, so it's like the last thing I listen to is usually what popped into my head, which was the new Arcanist record. I absolutely love their fusion of Dungeon Synth and Berlin School, and after a kind of a misfire on the last record, they've sort of come back swinging, doing their usual thing, and I'm all here for it. Really, really like that record. I'm also really liking Taylor Swift's Folklore. Is it called Folklore? I listened to that again this morning. I really, really like that record. That for me is the first time I've listened to Taylor and felt like there's a lot of uniqueness and character here. Not just like, you know, oh, it's pop music. Like, a lot of, yeah, something quite individual. I've not listened to a record quite like that one before. The vibe of it, so to speak. You enjoyed Moonlight Sorcery from the blog. Yeah, they're fantastic. They are. I love that band. They have a lot of influence from the sort of melodic death metal scene that I first listened to when discovering music. So there's like a nice nostalgic pull there. It's always nice to listen to stuff that like pulls you back to something you enjoyed in the past, or just like a part of the scene that you weren't aware of, and it's like, oh, I discovered this other band that were doing the same thing at the same time. That's always nice. Right, I think now that we're at this site here, that's where we start to let the powder take over and become more of the palette. I think it's too high again. Hey, Sonja, thank you for the nice message. Appreciate it. Thanks for saying that. Hi, it's Amelia. There's an album you came across from the blog that you enjoyed listening to, but you forgot what it is now. Well, you can go back. It will still be there, right? Like, that's one of the things I love about the blog, is that it's kind of like my journal of stuff I listen to. I haven't really been posting lately though, because I haven't really been getting as stuck in with albums. Been doing other things like making songs for Hermits and enjoying the summer, and yeah, that stuff tends to happen when I'm like, you know, it's winter and I'm on here grinding out episodes and stuff. That's when I get really stuck into the records. Is the heat better nowadays? Yeah, it's cooled down. I kind of missed the hot weather though. I was really enjoying it. Oh, are we out of stone? No, my middle click just wasn't working because the mod was interfering with it, I think. Oh, it's a good point. I kind of wanted to cover this stuff up with walls so that stuff wouldn't spawn on it. And I can actually do that right now if I do this. That would also mean putting it on top of here. Okay, we're going to need a lot more of that stuff then, aren't we? Because it's got to go all along there. Bam. And then we get to the top bit. Wow, I'm going to need a lot of stone. Wow, what a terrific audience. Does England actually have good beaches? Yeah, we do have a few here and there. Although, when you go to the beach, right, like the tide... When the tide comes in and out, that actually changes quite a lot over the year. And when I went to the beach the other day, we got there as the tide was coming in. So we only had like an hour on the beach swimming and doing whatever, and then it was gone. It was like, oh, that's it. That's all you get. You know, you go out for a day at the beach, and unless you remember to check on something like that, you might arrive there, and before you know it, the tide's coming in. What duping do we allow on Hermitcraft? Are there any farms which are prohibited? Yeah, duping isn't allowed on Hermitcraft. It's like the one thing. You're not allowed to dupe stuff. I think there's one thing we allow that's a bit like... it's something I know Tango doesn't like. I think it's using TNT dupers. Not duping TNT the item, but using a TNT duper. And I really feel like Minecraft should add a source of portable destruction like that anyway. You know, some sort of, maybe not movable, but a block like a dispenser, but it's an explosion block. It drops out a TNT or just something similar. But I don't think it's on the cards for them to add that. And what about the Sift update, right? Like, have y'all seen this Sift dimension that they've announced? I think it's a little underwhelming to make a big deal about a dimension when it's not in the Minecraft base game. And it's hard to imagine that they would then bring that dimension over to the game. I think about this stuff a lot from like a PR strategy point of view. Like a lot of what Minecraft does, if you watch their moves, is it's about creating hype and keeping the whole thing rolling. Nothing wrong with that, of course. That's just the way it's done these days. And I feel like they're trying to capitalize on the community's desire for a new dimension to point out that there's one in Dungeons, but it's like they want it in this game, right? Like it doesn't have quite the same meaning or feeling when it's in that other game. And I reckon they're going to... Well, I don't think any bad's going to come of it, but it's probably not the big hype they're looking for, unless they then go, and here it is in the main game, you know? But I can't see that happening. They do, however, have, like, if they get out the game in the next week or two, people will play it for a couple of weeks, then Dungeons 2 comes out. Maybe when they start doing the next drop, maybe that starts in mid-October, late October. If they then were like, it's the Sift dimension in the main game, that would create some absolute buzz. I could see that being the way they're going to play it. But the key thing is it's all about, you know, the hype cycle and the PR. That's the way I think you got to look at what they're doing from. Anyone interested in the Sift at all? Or is it not interesting? It didn't feel like it was. I looked at some numbers and stuff other channels were doing. Because when they announced it, I was like, I'm not going to make a video just for that. And then I looked around at what some others channels were pulling in, and it felt like it was quite underwhelming. I mean, if it was for a dimension for the base game, like, easily 10x those numbers. You haven't heard of it? Is Dungeons a thing? Yeah, it is. It is. Dungeons 2 is what they're trying to drum up excitement for. So is the Sif Dungeons dimension that links to the ancient city? Yes, I believe so. I can't remember if... I have a feeling you didn't see that connection in the hype trailer, though. That's what I've got this feeling that you didn't, and it's like, if you did, I'm sure that would be like a solid thing in my mind. But these days, I can never trust myself. Oh, we go over twice here, don't we? Oh, which means actually we can just do that. And put carpet on top. I honestly don't care about all the stuff I've seen from this dimension. I'm not surprised you would say that, because that's kind of the impression I get. It's been a bit underwhelming. It's been a bit of an underwhelming one. The ancient city portal is a stable one, while there are rifts across the dungeon map to the dimension. Ah, okay. Oh, wow. I was holding shift. Huh. I was holding shift. Your son has found a way to... I just noticed walking over here, I'm holding shift and it like bobbed up and down. Maybe my shift key's gone a bit dodge. Your son has found a way to duplicate sand using the end portal. Yeah, I think if you want to duplicate sand in this game, add a data pack for it. Like, make husks, drop them, build a farm. Never been a fan of duping items. I do think renewable sand... Why not? They've done it for everything else now. It used to be more of a part of this game that certain stuff meant you had to go out and get it. And these days, it's just... everything they add, immediately renewable. So why not apply it to the old stuff? I'm not sure. Right, we've done the air quotes hard work. Just the back wall after this. Oops. Thomasin! Good to see you again, my dude. 17 months. Thank you for subscribing. Appreciate you. Thank you. Let's get that in there. Do you think they want to encourage people to experiment with redstone and make farms with all the renewable blocks? I don't think what drives the development of this game is a vision of encouraging players to, you know, expand their curiosity, get artistic, or learn to create and solve puzzles. I think at the development level, where the developers are, they're probably extending what the game already offers, you know? They're putting their bits into it, expanding the Minecraft experience. But at the top level, it's all just sales and money. That's been the vibe for such a long time for me. That, you know, you get all this corporate speak coming top down, and like, it's because that's what they want to do. They want to keep pushing sales, right? They're not thinking, oh, we've got a game that loads of young people play. How can this benefit the future? Let's make it more educational or get it to do them this or that. Like, that's... I doubt that is the vision at all. It's all sales. Numbers, numbers, numbers. Okay, got to do the backup there now, haven't we? Isn't sand like the only thing that isn't renewable? Yeah, with exception to stuff that's like obviously not supposed to be renewable, like the heavy core, for example. Like there are aspects of this game that aren't about renewability and stuff. Oh, that's polished blackstone there, I see, okay. Oh, no, that would be wrong. So that one doesn't go there. Ugh. Will there ever be an end update? I don't know. I don't know. Do people still play Hytale? You thought it was going to ruin Minecraft, but you haven't seen much of it. It probably won't ruin Minecraft. It'll probably make both games better because there's now competition in the market. But yeah, Hytale's going pretty strong. It's just released like a massive modding platform into the game. It's kind of getting very close, I think, to having that moment where it'll start to pick up steam again and players will come back and check things out, especially with all the mods. That's going to be huge. Yeah, so there's that. What were we saying about Hytale? But with time, it's going to make both games better. You've already seen Minecraft react to things that are in Hytale. Why do you think we got concrete slabs and stairs? I'm pretty sure that's because Hytale had a completely different policy on that stuff. Oh, wow. Joe's streaming in 12.5 hours. Okay. I thought if he were hopping on now, he might be doing an early one. Sometimes Joe turns up and does the early stream, at least on a... Okay, that's correct. At least on a live stream weekend. All right, and then the next bit is here. We can basically use the stone as a guide for where we're going to put them. Apparently, Joe was up late last night. Someone's got their eye on Joe. Yo, Scruffy Geek 505. Thank you ever so much for using the Prime to subscribe to the channel. Welcome aboard. We got a new face here. If you did not know, being subscribed to this channel also gives you access to the Let's Play Minecraft Together server and my Discord server. So if you'd like to become a bigger part of this community, you can get access to the server and check it out and maybe find a place that you would be happy playing. The peeps there would love to have you. Got a lovely community for lots of people because we got the Twitch subs hooked up to it now after many years of not having that, which is cool. All right, there you go. That's that. Bam, done. Except now we need this. Now we need this. Are there any LPMT tours planned? Just depends on Rainbow, really. That's it. If I get given the places to go to, I can go to them. Oh, no, this is slightly different here, isn't it? Well, I'm glad I noticed. Let's go back and fix that. Otherwise, it would look a little odd. I mean, it might actually look kind of okay, having a little tail off at the end. Slight curvature, but I'm doubtful, so we'll stick to the original. Okay. Joe is the hermit you most relate to. You're going to see him in October. What do you mean by going to see him, though? Is he doing, like, a public event? Okay, let's get a couple more of those together. I think Joe is listening. Ah, Tennessee Games Out days October 1st to 4th. Awesome. Unguided Hand, thank you for 55 months. You're listening. Cool, cool. Yeah, I asked if you were streaming, Joe, because, I don't know. Oh, dang it. Was I supposed to do polished blackstone on these? I was. I'll do it now. I'll do it now. I'll just finish. I was going to leave that bit undone, but I'll do it now. Yeah, the reason I asked, Joe, is just if you, like, sometimes you stream this time on a Hermitcraft weekend. I figured you might want a raid if you're going to be on here streaming. Wait, did I go over the blackstone one? I did. Just... Of all the places! Right next to my storage! I guess it makes sense, because I haven't lit this up. Well, that was some absolute panic. That was some absolute panic, wasn't it? I guess now I've got a little bit more space to sort my boxes and stuff as well, so it's not all bad. Plus, we didn't lose anything, so we're good, we're good. I mean, I hope we didn't lose anything. Wait, that box that I just put... Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh, it's in my inventory. Oh, there we go. Oh, okay. I was like, no, wait, there is one missing. Where did that one go? Oh, here it is. Okay, we're good. Do need to light up the area then, so let's grab some lights and torches. And then go do the blackstone thing after. You'd hope that the frog lights up there would light this area, but clearly they're too far away. Oh, there's all this back here as well. Dang. Dang, that creeper could have gone from like a ways away. And there's a cave? Oh, no. Oh, no. Where does this lead? Right, that should do it for now. Woo! And we're out. And we're out. Right, blackstone. Yes, please. So do I want to put carpets on top of there? I think that's the idea, basically. Do we want carpets there? Right, so that one would need to come off. I think I'm back on track now. Oh, I've got to go all the way across from left to right. Got to do all of them. There is a cat on your parents' bed. Well, thank you for telling me, because I was very concerned that there might not have been a cat on your parents' bed. If anyone's parents' bed doesn't have a cat on it, please tell me right now! Oh, I need to know. Okay. Let's calm down a little bit again. I might actually take these carpets off. I don't know, like the idea is to stop stuff spawning up here. Because I just built the building creative and didn't really think about that. But maybe it isn't, like... This is why we need a beacon where you can just stop the mob spawning. Because then you don't have to compromise anything. Everything can just stay as you intended. But until Mojang grant us that beacon, we are forever compromising our builds. And it feels wrong. And that's that right there. I win. My bed has 2 cats. Oh! 2 kitty cats. Yeesh. What a baller. What a baller. Right. My friends. I'm going to stand up. I'm sick of sitting down already. My bum hurts so much. Oh, I must remember to finish ye old time lapse. Right? Ye old time lapse. Very old school stream. Feels like it's been a minute since we've done this kind of just build for a time lapse thing. But we got a heck of a lot done. And now I've got to render and edit all of that stuff at some point. But I'm going to go eat next because I've got to eat my meals so that I can recover my health. If you want to learn how to play piano like I've been doing, xisuma.co/piano. Where's the one that I want to put on the screen and pause? Come on, be kind to me. There we go. Wait, why is there no pause button? There it is. It changes when you click it. Yeah, so the Hermitcraft songs, including Jevons, are available on streaming services. And if you want to support me directly on Bandcamp, you can buy yourself the MP3s or whatever, and then do whatever you want with them. As you might have guessed, it's the end of my stream, so I need to go look for someone to raid. And I have a feeling that there'll be no one I'm following at this time of day streaming, which is why I asked Joe. But there's Pixel Riffs. So I'll send you the Pixel Riffs, I guess. How's that work? Also, that reminds me, we're going to do Mecha on Wednesday, and on Tuesday we're doing FOMO streams. So come back for the FOMO. There's no VOD. And on Wednesday we're going to play Mecha with some friends. And that's it, I guess. Let's get the raid going. Thank you everyone for tuning in. See you again on Tuesday, and have a great rest of your Sunday. And all of that good stuff. Alright, peeps. Enjoy the raid. Take care. Bye-bye.